What's up everybody and welcome to a little bit of a different video, the top 5 swords for Skyrim Special Edition, and basically this is going to be kind of an insofar video. I'm looking at the top 5 swords in a sense that we don't have that many options just yet. There are a good like 10 to 15 swords released, and out of those, what are the best of the best to be using for your game? With all that being said, this is just my opinion. I'd love for you to tell me in the comments down below what your top 5 is, or what swords you just find to be the coolest in the game. With all that being said, I do hope you enjoy this video, and if you do, I encourage you to consider subscribing. But with that, let's get right into it. So first and foremost, we have the Berserk Dragonslayer Greatsword. So this is basically just going to be the Dragonslayer, but it is being from the Berserk series, and it is a greatsword in the sense that it's a two-handed weapon. As you can see, this sword is massive. It is definitely more unique than all the other swords on this list. The textures definitely fall a little bit short on this one comparatively, but nonetheless, it does have that uniqueness factor going for it, and it is quite a bit of fun to use. You're going to find when using this sword, you have crazy reach. You're going to be able to hit enemies, and multiple enemies even, from very far away, which is very satisfying to do. It definitely does have damage matching its size and strength. You're going to be taking down enemies relatively quickly, a few good hits, and you can take down even some of the guards at some of the major cities in the game. All around, a very cool sword, and just honestly, it's a ton of fun to use. It's so much different than stuff in the vanilla game that it really feels like a proper mod. So next up we have Stuhn's Fist. Not nearly as unique as the previous sword, but definitely very high quality. Basically, this is more or less just an overhaul of a vanilla sword. It does look different, although it does have the same stats as the ebony sword, but it definitely feels like something that would fit into Skyrim. There's nothing crazy going on here, but again, I think the sword is pretty high quality, and the hilt is pretty unique, and honestly, when using swords in Skyrim, that's what you're going to be seeing, is the hilt in your hand, because the rest of the blade is going to kind of be above you and stuff like that. I actually found this sword very enjoyable to actually use. It wasn't a crazy overhaul, but it was different enough that made me feel like I was using a mod, and it felt a little bit more unique than some of the other swords on this list. So next up we have Power Greatsword. So this is actually 4 swords in one mod. More or less what it adds in is first and foremost the big blue greatsword, which has a really cool blue effect, and it almost glows a little bit if you use it at nighttime. Then we do have the Blood Nord blade, that also having a pretty cool effect behind it. And then we have the Dragon Greatsword, which I actually really like this one. I just think it looks very cool, and obviously Skyrim being a very dragon oriented game inside of the lore and all that, this sword fits in pretty well. And then last but not least we have the Blue Knight Greatsword. So this one is meant to be magic oriented, which you definitely get that feel from it, especially with the purple glow and all that. All around, all these swords are pretty cool. They all have their kind of unique things behind them, like Big Blue is supposed to be the harsh climate of Skyrim, while the Blood Nord blade is meant to be kind of a Nordic blade, and instilled in it are some engravings and glowing runes from the Nordic tradition. And of course the Dragon and Blue Knight Greatsword I did talk about. But all around, again, a pretty cool mod, a little bit more unique than some of the other ones. I would actually put it higher on this list if the sword like texture quality was just a little bit higher. When you actually use them, you could tell, although they're very cool, they don't seem like the highest quality, especially up to the new standards of Special Edition. So at number 4 we have the Great Sword of Ancient Tongues, and I did have to cut off the great part of the sword because it was just too long to fit into the lower third. Regardless, I think this is kind of the coolest kind of, I guess you want to say, normal sword. The final sword on this is a little bit different, hence me putting it at the top spot, but this one just has a really cool engraving, but at the end of the day it is just a normal sword. Honestly, first and foremost, I just think the sword looks really cool. It has my favorite design, and it definitely has enough uniqueness behind it that when you're holding it you realize you're like, okay, this is actually kind of a cool little thing here. It is from the mod author Corvelo, who does make some seriously high quality mods, so the sword itself does have a really high model quality, as well as the textures are top notch on this thing. It fits into the lore. Again, it is meant to be lore friendly, as are all of his mods, and honestly, again, I just think the way the design on the sword works and the way it looks when it's at your side just looks very cool. I love how you could pull it out from where you do, and all around just a very good weapon mod. So last but not least, we have the Blades of Chaos and Athena. So this adds in the 2 blades from the God of War series into Skyrim Special Edition. These are by far my favorite weapons for Skyrim insofar, just because I think they are pretty simple but look very cool nonetheless. They both have these kind of little glowing aromas behind them, and when you use them at nighttime, they just do give off good effects that really illuminate the things around you, and all around, I think just make them a very enjoyable sword to use. They're actually daggers, not swords, but whatever, it's the same concept. The one thing that's a little bit unfortunate, it's actually not available for Skyrim on PC, so PC users, you kind of get screwed. The video behind is actually from regular Skyrim that I had in a previous video, because I said this is one of the best mods to get excited for, and again, now here we do have it released for Xbox users, and I think it's one of the best mods out for Skyrim right now, so definitely worth the download if you want to spice up your game a little bit, or you're just a fan of God of War. I was going to pretty much wrap it up for this series though, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. I do plan on putting out more of these videos in the future, like for climate mods and different quest mods, etc, etc. As always, I thank you guys for watching. watching. I do plan on doing some Skyrim live streams as well, so some different mods. I do want to play through some of the Falcasar and like stuff like that for Skyrim, so stay tuned if you want to see that. But with always, I thank you for watching, and I do hope to see you all next time. Later.